All right, so we are continuing with our theme of talking about where writers get their ideas from. And this week we're talking about a dog. We're talking about a dog named Stubby. And in the other video, I read you this non-fiction picture book about Stubby, kind of giving you some background information of how he ended up in World War One. Now, this dog Stubby gave this author, Kate Climo, the idea to write a fiction book told from the dog's point of view. So we really don't know quite what Stubby was thinking, right? Because we can't read dogs' minds, although sometimes it feels like we can. But she wrote this fiction book called Dog Diaries, Stubby, from the point of view of Stubby. So I'm going to read you an excerpt from it. So I'm going to read you chapter 7, which is called A Four-Legged Warning System. So at this point in the book, Stubby accidentally got hit with some mustard gas and he ended up in the hospital and they had to take care of him because he accidentally breathed in some mustard gas. So he knows what mustard gas feels like. And so I'm just gonna grab my reading glasses because this is a little bit smaller text. So this is Stubby. We're hearing this story of the mustard gas attack from Stubby's point of view. So when he says I, that's Stubby talking about himself. Pretty good hint we're reading fiction, right? When I got discharged from the hospital, it was back to the good old front. All the soldiers were thrilled to see me. I took a run up and down the trenches, checking in with everyone to make sure they'd been okay while I was out of commission. By the time the shooting started up again, I was stationed on top of an ammunition case, barking and howling, fit to burst. How dare they fire at my boys? How dare they? I was in such a lather that Conroy stopped shooting long enough to have himself a good chuckle. You've worked yourself into a regular battle rage. I was angry, all right. Early one morning, I was cozied up in the dugout next to Conroy. I'd gotten myself wedged in his armpit, where I could feel his breath ruffling the top of my head as he snored away. The enemy had come down on us hard the night before. Now that the fighting had let up, everybody was fast asleep. I had been too. But all of a sudden, I was wide awake. My nose twitched. The hair along my spine stood straight up. There is something wrong. Deep in my gut, where the last drop of the mustard gas still burned, it was starting to bubble and boil and talk to me. It was saying, I'm gonna get you this time, Mutt. I aimed to listen. I licked Conroy's face. Wake up, something's coming, something bad. Conroy groaned and shoved me away. Lay off, go back to bed. I went into his gear and dug out his gas mask. I dragged it over to him. Here, put this thing on. The gas is headed this way. Don't ask me how I knew. Maybe being gassed had made me sensitive to the smell. Or maybe I was just being a nervous Nelly. But no matter how convinced I was, Conroy didn't care. All he wanted to do was sleep. I started running up and down the trench, sounding the alarm. The men groaned. I nipped at them, tugging at their coat sleeves and pant legs. Just like Conroy, they lay there like dummies. Don't you get it? You're in danger. I lifted my head and started to howl. Ow! One of them clapped his hands over his ears. Put a sock in it, Stubby. Conroy, another soldier moaned. Tell your dog to shut his fuzzy yap. But I was not going to shut my fuzzy yap. Not until they wised up, woke up, and listened up. Finally, one of Conroy's buddies shook the sleep out of his head. He gave me a look. What's the matter, Stubby? What's got you so riled? I got up on my hind legs and danced. But this was no happy little bandy-legged bull terrier jig. This was the dance of danger. Then, finally, it dawned on him. Hey, guys, he said slowly. I think the dog is trying to tell us something. Like what? Asked another dog. That he's hungry? No, like maybe there's a gas attack headed this way. At the mention of gas, the other guy was suddenly kicking free of his sleeping bag. He crawled his way over the sandbags and peered around. I crawled up beside him. It looked like dawn mist, all innocent, blowing from the direction of no man's land. But we both knew better. That mist was gas, wafting toward us on the morning breeze. Gas, the soldier hollered. Gas attack! The men started to wake up. It was about time they did. I headed to the other trenches, zigzagging my way along, barking the alarm. Everybody was on their feet now, fumbling for their gas masks. I ran back and checked to see that Conroy had put his on. He looked like a monster when he wore it, but it didn't scare me. What scared me was gas. You see that? There's just one picture of him in his gas mask. I climbed into the dugout and burrowed into his sleeping bag until there was nothing showing but my tail. After that, silence. All I heard was the rasping of the men breathing through their masks. Maybe Mother Nature had given me some kind of gas meter in my tail, but somehow I sensed when it was safe to come out. I backed out of the bag, shook myself all over, and took in a big lungful of air. I could barely detect a trace of the stuff. One by one, the men took off their masks. They crowed with relief and crowded around. Conroy hugged me so hard my eyes bugged. He gave my back a good long scratching until I was just one big slobbering grin. No two ways about it, he said. You saved us, Stubby. Oh, shucks, it was nothing. The next time you kick up a fuss, we'll listen. Afterward, Conroy gave me most of his morning rations. Some of the other men tossed me scraps from theirs. My belly was full and my boys were safe. All told, I was feeling pretty good about the way things had turned out. I never did get around to wearing the gas mask the fellows made for me. It wasn't that I didn't appreciate their thoughtfulness. It was just that I'd sooner dive into a sleeping bag than let somebody strap that doohickey on my head. Sometimes after I issued my warning, I didn't even stick around. I'd hot-footed off until the deadly cloud blew over. Either way, the stuff never got me again, and I like to think that the king of battle gases claimed far fewer soldiers, with Stubby, the four-legged gas alarm, keeping watch. So there we go. That's just a short excerpt from this book, which is called Dog Diaries by Kate Climo, and this is the Stubby of this. So this is a whole series of books about different dogs. If I go like there, you can see there's about 12 books in this series, all by Kate Climo, all about different real dogs in history. So if you're interested in reading any one of these, I'll bring them around to book checkout time, but also you can use the book request form to request any of these Dog Diaries books. All of them are really good. So I hope you like that fictional version of Stubby's story.